scale and place. When we buy food at the supermarket or in a restaurant, we understand the value of money. In a certain restaurant, $10 will feed us nicely. In others, just barely. $10 will feed us in the supermarket, $10 can go far. In just the same way, we understand the difference between a single dollar and a $100 bill, although with our eyes closed they might seem exactly the same. So it is with everything. What works on Earth is preposterous on the moon, and the moon's world doesn't have to work on Earth. And if we pay for nothing, nothing is what we have bought. This is the law. When we make an account of our inner state, we will find we have exaggerated expectations of what we can afford. We stretch our bankroll in our minds to cover long odds and many separate expenditures and set off immediately to spend. However, on the way to the ATM, we suddenly realize our limitation quantitatively. We don't have 10% of the money we need immediately. Next, we set out immediately for work to make more money. When we remember it is Sunday and the office is closed, we apply the brakes too quickly and the axle breaks under the car. Now all our remaining money goes to transportation and fixing our broken car. And we spend all Sunday stomping the sidewalk outside our mechanic's, waiting for him to finish fixing our wheels. We have nothing in the end, not being willing to settle for what we can afford. What did we expect? Chapter 12, The Machine. The fourth way teaching that man is a machine does not disregard the ideas of human depth and free will. However, by uniting all men through one stiff metaphor, it also divides a man within himself into mechanical and conscious acts, activities, and actions. Certain qualities only reveal themselves in the absence of mechanical activity. Other functions should proceed by themselves. If we interfere, for instance, with our breathing or heart rate, we suffer for it. The first quality in consciousness is the absence of unconsciousness. The next is a certain force. Consciousness is a force. When we think about the word machine, we should examine to what beside man himself this word applies. Things we identify with most, an automobile, a telephone, or a bank machine, our stereo system, or our remote-controlled television. These things we control ourselves, whether mechanically or consciously, but our own machine, in which we dwell, is controlled by some other force. We are switched on or off. Mankind as a whole, that is life, can be shown to be a machine. Exactly as the hour hand on a watch moves 5 units in an hour, so does the second hand move 3,600 units in the same time. The sun and the earth, adding on the moon, form just such a mechanism for man on earth. And we do not notice how these cosmic persons count the mass of mankind, nor the individual. Time passes. We watch only the slowest hand count out bits of hours and perform the same activities at pre-organized cues. To cease to be a machine, man must cease unconscious mental functions. A man must know what he is saying and doing. He must know what he is thinking. He must not believe things need changing right away. One must never do what one does not understand ahead of time, as it were. Unreeling a fantasy in mixed company can embarrass one. The effort to remember oneself immediately replaces man into, from a practical perspective, his rightful place within the complex control of his 3-story machine. And he may assist in his development consciously. as mechanical effects give only mechanical results. Chapter 13, Being. 3 elements constitute being. The first is knowledge. Whether or not it is common knowledge is not important. It is a space created by the placement of the knowledge in us. Space is the effect of force. The knowledge within us creates any number of varieties of forces, some whole and complete, others of less unified characters, and others from a different origin altogether. These forces constitute, as it were, a blueprint of what we call ourselves here in actual time and space. Another element of being is psychology. It is necessary to accept the common definition of the word. It benefits us to agree that it means a definite form and structure, although one psychology may differ very much from another. This plan worked out in human form is what the fourth way begins to study, and also to improve, to perhaps eliminate useless rules and obligations, and to form a more balanced psychic economy. Then perhaps being has a leg to grow from. When we understand our own psychology and polish and weigh it, we have already taken on the work, and we decide which direction our psychological evolution will take. The third element of being is where we place ourselves, the location of our existence at the moment, in all its dimensions. If we take all of ourselves little by little through time, we have earned some result. This points toward level of being. Exercises exist for the development of attention and awareness, and these also can work with level of being. However, the fourth way teaches that an extra effort is necessary, that of actively processing, of taking in our experience. In this respect, knowledge is contrasted with being, as being less definite. The many scales of knowledge are inconsistent with being's unity. The friction between these creates understanding. Fortunately, we can misunderstand only small things. Our being brings us small things and we discard them automatically. It brings us large things and we understand very well. The system we study is a living organism. By itself, it gives a very uninteresting functional investigation, but under slightly different circumstances, however. And it can be more amusing than TV. People can say what they will of themselves. We are all under the same laws. Chapter 14, Our Heart. If we imagine our physical heart wheel turning an engine and our esoteric heart doing the same, it is not difficult to tune this engine. We clutch the spinning wheel and let the transmission fall. Our machine whirls into place. We let go, and the engine idles. Our bodies may be doing one thing while our heart moves in quite a different direction. Understanding is in peril. We are many. To unify himself internally and externally is the first task of man. Unity is our destiny. To divide oneself continually is like cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. The face does not benefit. To allow one's heart, that is one's core, into all functions is to draw back to the source all fragments which remain hidden or half hidden or quite obvious at the moment. The feeling that we have lost control of our lives brings a feeling of helplessness. We have lost contact with our heart, with our core. Our lives have lost their force. The fourth way teaches that we have no will, no place created in ourselves by conscious force to do anything. We have sacrificed will for a series of habits which create our circumstances by force. Only the force of consciousness can change this rule, and only in the absence of unconsciousness. When we observe a ritual, we are reinforcing our presence of heart, of core. This demands total attention. Chapter 15, the ideas. The first way teaching is not done strictly through words. That would be to identify with words. The system is taught through contact with a psychological standard. The neutralizing force of which is achieved by conscious aim. This standard classifies at once where a thing belongs, whether it is high or low psychologically. Then a system becomes living. Then it is known completely as a whole. The ideas of the fourth way are also individually a living system and cannot be discarded out of hand. They become children who parent us into adults. Our ideas are usually extremely self-serving. We are only interested in amusing ourselves and making plans to amuse ourselves. These fourth way ideas are different. The ideas we study form a standard by which we balance our own psychology. We have a certain island, a specific mind. Why do we dress as someone else and make a big deal of it when we are alone with endless sand on our little island? We lack an external neutral system that can interact with our internal half-balanced consciousness. We need a school. School means rules, and school means others, and a school needs maintaining. But simply because of the physical and psychological limitations of the school, we derive the neutralizing force we need to lever us. Then we have a force to work. Then we are free to do what we must and leave nothing undone. Chapter 16, The Judge. Our internal establishment demands of us at some time a period of cooling off. We have eliminated some necessary barrier within ourselves and become destructive. We're so heated we need the police. We are in custody. Our life is on the line because we still cannot bring cool to our temper. We are taken to the judge. Strangely enough, the judge looks familiar. Surely he recognizes us also. We know we will be allowed to walk. Even the look we give the judge assures us that he understands our side of the story. With his eyes, the judge sees none of this. He is looking for facts. We cannot present any as we are. We will surely land in a cell. We must cool down. We must once again replace the barrier that prevented us from acting this way. We are out of control. The judge looks up at us, and we both know he has all the facts. He has the law. Also, he has us until we pay for any wrongdoing. And as if in a dream, we suddenly realize that we are the judge. The I we designated to judge others, and we know we fall short of an argument. We cannot present one fact. We know ourselves what we have done, and we know the penalty. God or the devil may come to our aid, but we cannot count on either of them to do or say what we want them to. We have established that we have acted foolishly but are too foolish to change, and put on a court face and face the judge. Chapter 17, the fire. Plato wrote of life as shadows on the wall of a cave, and people as spectators in a shadow play. When one escapes and comes back to free others, they do not believe him. Only when they are turned around completely and witness the fire that burned behind them do they awaken from hypnotic sleep and seek a way out of the cave. The fire of false personality burns our machine to bits. Our resistance to unity and self-control feeds bits of us to the fire when we most need them to remember ourselves. Our house is aflame, and we sit down to popcorn, and our furniture and photographs are destroyed. We hum pleasantly to ourselves, imagining how sweet popcorn tastes. We perish at the table. The flame of consciousness illumines what it is focused upon and adds being to its nature. What may be in the dark simply is not in the light. But the human chemical factory can be artificially stressed, and fuel explosion is possible. Then this flame becomes pilot to a chain reaction. We go up in smoke. Sometimes we are quite pleased with this and feed more of ourselves to the fire, willingly as it were. Our huge inferno attracts a lot of attention, but then it must be extinguished sooner or later. Perhaps the heat is unbearable. Will this move us? The fire in the human heart fires a wheel that powers the human spirit. False personality is a fire that feeds upon the human spirit and upon the human heart. Chapter 18, the octave. There is no doubt in our minds that music follows definite laws, that it proceeds in one direction, that is organized to be pleasing. We don't apply this idea to ourselves. One reason for this misunderstanding is the absence of complete knowledge of the musical scale. One attribute of the scale is its totality within itself and within each step. A complete octave is a whole. Broken up into bits, we still recognize it easily. Another attribute of the octave, as it is the artificial, or rather missing intervals between 3 and 4 and between 7 and 8. To complete an ascending or descending octave, an effort is necessary to fill these intervals. The octave also is part of a larger system of harmonic chords and modes, all of which follow mathematical laws. If we have mastered this system and its language, we understand much of the cosmic plan. Planets vibrate at a very low tone, and the sun still lower. People vary as to their pitch. Within the human octave, many other octaves can be found and many laws demonstrated. The music we create for ourselves depends upon harmony and upon lyrics and melodies. The familiar strains of the Anniversary Waltz call up a certain octave, and the Star-Spangled Banner another. From our own vibration we can know very much, and we can know what we can do by following the plan of the octave. Chapter 19, Alchemy. One of the great principles of the universe is that all things are connected, needing artificial divisions to be taken all by themselves. In the same way, the substances which fill space exist in graduations or links in a great chain which penetrates space from coarse to fine particles. Each material substance has its own characteristic vibration, its own intelligence. The ancient ideas of alchemy take all this into account when taking on the task of changing one substance into another. The human digestive system does very much the same thing. But the hidden meaning of alchemy is the transmutation of matters or energies within the human consciousness. The fourth way teaches that there are three forces at the disposal of living beings, and the fourth state of energy or matter. All matter is the result of all three forces, the active, the passive, and the neutralizing forces. Atomic physics accepts these forces as present in every atom, as nucleus, electron, and neutron, respectively. Life is seen from the fourth way perspective as a passive force, or one of resistance. The system is seen as neutral. Certain ideas can be taken as active. Substances are sometimes taken as active, passive, or neutral, but we ourselves have a great impact upon matter and force, and may well alter force according to our will. If we know beforehand what we want, we can effect the transmutation of one state of things to another. The human experience is dependent upon the substances in play at the moment in the specific consciousness. Effort is not wasted providing the finest matter to our mind. Chapter 20, Magnetic Center. In life, we can distinguish three types of influences which we can distinguish with our whole being, and which we can label A, B, and C influences. Power, money, social status are attributes of A influences. Books like the Bible and certain architecture can be considered B. We so rarely come across C influences in ordinary life that we really know very little about them. However, psychological evolution depends upon sorting through influences and discarding those farthest from the esoteric C influences, which are the ones we most often walk by without noticing. C influence falls upon essence and personality evenly. An objective result can be expected from them. These influences proceed from outside the to's and fro's of life itself. They are conscious influences. B influences are conscious in their origin, but mixing with other influences, they join A influences in passing before us all the time. We might understand their conscious intent, their conscious purpose in life, but we don't often place them on a different level from A influences. We take everything as being on one level. Our own level of being determines what comes to us in life. The more we grow, the more will be given us to accomplish. What is useful at one stage may be harmful at another. The rule applies evenly to all. We may make efforts today. Tomorrow these efforts bring a change. Now we are challenged with something new. Fresh efforts come from our new being. We know with Magnetic Center